Hi and welcome to the Lord Pepper channel. Today I will talk to you about the Varangian Guard, which was a unit of mercenaries within the Byzantine army, which was mostly composed of Germanic peoples, especially Norsemen. The first of the Varangian Guard were the Kievan Rus. The Byzantine Emperor Basil I married off his sister to Vladimir, king of the Kievan Rus. Vladimir controlled what is an area in what is now modern-day Ukraine, and Kiev would have been called Kænugarður by the Nordics. As a part of the deal between the Byzantines and the Kievan Rus, their king sent a few thousand soldiers as mercenaries to Constantinople to fight for Basil I. There is a Muslim account of the Kievan Rus, which is not very charitable, by Ahmad ibn Fadlan, which reads, "They are the filthiest of God's creatures. They neither cleanse themselves after either defecation or urination, nor do they perform the necessary ablutions after major ritual impurity, nor do they wash their hands after eating. Indeed, they are like stray asses. They come from their country and dock their ships on the Atail, which is a large river on whose banks they build large wooden houses. 10 or 20 of them, more or less, gather in one house. Each of them has a couch on which he sits, and with them are the beautiful slave girls intended for the merchants. One of them may have sexual relations with his slave girl while his comrade looks on. Sometimes a whole group of them may come together and engage in such action opposite each other. It sometimes happens that a merchant comes in to buy a girl from one of them and finds him copulating with her, yet he does not leave her until he has satisfied his desire." Slavic sex slaves. Those were the days. Later, the Varangians became the personal guards of the Byzantine emperor. When Emperor Basil II attacked the rebel general Bardas Bocas, he brought the entire Varangian Guard with him. In the final battle, as Phocas's soldiers ran from the battlefield, the Varangians chased them down and, as one Byzantine chronicle put, cheerfully hacked them into pieces. After that day, Basil made the Varangians his personal guard, a function the Varangians performed for succeeding generations of Byzantine emperors. Maybe it's no wonder that the Byzantines called the Varangians pretty much just axe-wielding barbarians. But to be fair, the term barbarian was not as value-laden, it seems, at the time. It almost just meant just like foreigner, and not it didn't exactly mean the exact same thing as it does today, but also a bit, because at the time the Byzantines were, quite frankly, a much more cultured nation than the than the Vikings, to be fair. The Norsemen, however, simply called the Byzantines Greeks, and their city Constantinople Mikligarður, or the Great Fortress. Eventually, the Varangian Vikings converted to Christianity and adopted Greek as their first language. But they clung unto some of their traditions. They had a preference for using axes in battle and a weakness for heavy drinking. Although in Constantinople they drank wine rather than meat or ale, their drunkenness was so conspicuous that when King Eric the Good of Denmark made a state visit to the Byzantine court in 1103, he delivered a speech to the Varangians saying that they were giving their countrymen a bad name and urging them to moderate their drinking. "Hey guys, could you drink a little less? You're giving us a bad rap." So the Varangians were perhaps a slightly unruly bunch, and perhaps a bit rapey. Here is a Byzantine illumination of a woman killing a Varangian that attempted to rape her. His comrades then present her with presents. They were, however, known for their loyalty to the emperor, unlike mercenaries in general. The Varangians, the emperors hoped, would not be involved in court intrigues present in Constantinople. Anna Komnena, daughter of Emperor Alexius I, writes in Alexiad, "The Varangians too, who carried their axes on their shoulders, regarded their loyalty to the emperors and their protection of the imperial person as a pledge and ancestral tradition handed down from father to son, which they keep inviolate and will certainly not listen to even the slightest word about treachery." And their loyalty was greatly rewarded. No one in the Northlands had ever seen so much wealth in the possession of one man, for while he was in Miklagard, Harald had participated in palace pillaging 3 times. It was a law there that when a Greek king died, the Varangians had pillaging rights at his palaces. They were permitted to go through all of the king's treasuries, and each man could help himself freely to whatever he could lay his hands on. The Varangians, however, stayed in touch with their heritage despite converting to Christianity. There was one more thing the Varangians remembered: the runic alphabet of their homeland. Rune graffiti had been found on columns and other monuments in Constantinople, as well as on a pair of marble lions that were once in Athens but are now displayed in Venice. Here's one example of rune graffiti. One Viking named Halfdan clearly took a hammer and chisel and put his name in the Hagia Sophia. Various runestones describe the Norsemen that fought alongside the Byzantines. These are mostly found in Sweden. Here we can see runestone U358, which stands in Skepptuna near Stockholm, Sweden. It reads, "Folkmar had this stone raised in the memory of Folkbjörn, his son. He also met his end among the Greeks. May God help his spirit and soul." On occasion, the Varangians are mentioned in the sagas. This is a passage from Lagstella. When Botle had been a winter in Denmark, he started on his journey out into foreign countries, and did not halt in his journey till he came to Miklagard. He was there only a short time before he got himself into the Varangian Guard, and, from what we have heard, no Northman had ever gone to take war pay from the Guard king before Botle. He tarried away in Miklagard very many winters, and was thought to be the most valiant in all deeds that try a man, and always went next to those in the forefront. The Varangians accounted Botle most highly of whilst he was with them in Miklagard. Another interesting passage reads, "Botle rode from the ship with 12 men, and all his followers were dressed in scarlet, and rode on gilt saddles, and all were they a trusty band. Though Botle was peerless among them, he had on his clothes of fur which the Guard king had given him. He had over all a scarlet cape, and he had a foot-biter girt on him, the hilt of which was dyed with gold, and the grip woven with gold. He had a gilded helmet on his head, and a red shield on his flank, with a painted knight on it in gold. He had a dagger in his hand, as is custom in foreign lands, and whenever he took quarters, the women paid heed to nothing but gazing at Botle and his grandeur, and that of his followers." This description is very interesting. It's clear that Botle was very popular with the ladies. He was a real player, and he had a lot of foreign bling. It's a very interesting description. Heimskringla tells of Haraldur Sigurðsson, also known as Haraldur Harðráði, service in the Varangian Guard. He is perhaps the most famous member of the Varangian Guard. At that time, the Greek Empire was ruled by the Empress Zoe the Great, and with her Michael Catalactus. And now when Harald came to Constantinople, he presented himself to the Empress, and went into her pay,
and immediately in autumn went aboard the galleys manned with troops which went out to the Greek Sea. Harold had his own men along with him. Now Harold had been but a short time in the army, wherefore all the Varings flocked to him, and they all joined together when there was a battle. Thus it came to pass that Harold was made chief of the Varangs. There was a chief over all the troops who was called Gerger, and who was a relation of the Empress. Gerger and Harold went round among the Greek islands, fought much against the corsairs.
Haraldur Harðráði eventually became the king of Norway and was killed at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. You know, I really liked looking into the Varangian Guard. You should let me know if you want more historical videos or less or none at all. I don't mind doing them. In fact, I actually quite like it. It's a little, just a small break from politics, which can be really exhausting. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please consider liking it, sharing it, or even becoming a subscriber. Thank you for watching.